Hey guys, so it's a brisk night out tonight here. Praying for all the folks down in Florida. Just seems like, I know a lot of people talking about this, but it really kind of seems like it's true that red counties are being affected more. Let's put it that way. Red counties, red cities, red areas, basically. With that said, guys, it's interesting. The more I looked at what happened yesterday with President Trump, the one some people call anti-Semite, visited I've never seen an anti-Semite at the Ohel, at the grave of the Lubavitch Rebbe, folks. I've never seen one. Like, maybe I've seen it. I don't know, self-proclaimed atheist or two. But I've never seen an anti-Semite there. At least not that I know of. And even so, you could say, oh well, it's pandering. Folks, if a politician wanted to pander to Jews, there's better ways to pander, given that 80% of Jews or 90% of Jews are not even Orthodox, my friends. And are not even they're not Orthodox. They're not even Shomer Shabbat or anything like that. I'm not judging anybody. I'm just giving you statistical fact. So if a non-Jewish politician wanted to pander to the Jews of America or the Jews of the world, I don't know what, the Ohel would not be his stomping ground. Maybe he would go to Temple Emmanuel, on what was it, 5th Avenue, where are they located? Yeah, by Central Park. Maybe he'd go there. Or one of the many kind of so-called prominent, synagogues, as it were, around America. He would not go to the grave of the Lubavitch Rebbe, I can tell you that much, guys. But his daughter did in 2016, and his daughter went again in 2020. She's an Orthodox Jew. I don't know if you guys know that. He has Orthodox Jewish grandchildren. A bunch of them. So, my friends, I cannot help but think of, as I looked at the video of Trump, in that tent by the Ohel, and then at the Ohel itself, I couldn't help but think of Rabbi Kessin's words that he's been, giving over for a few years now, that basically we're looking at Esav doing tshuva, and this is something that people don't really understand. Meaning, this is something that a lot of Jews in America themselves, who say that they don't like him, say that they, and they have their reasons. Mainly aesthetic, mainly superficial, mainly external, mainly. Yeah, they give other reasons, political reasons, but those reasons are not valid. But they have external reasons, right? And they don't really understand that the reasons, the midot, the character traits that they're describing, are the character traits of Esav, right? And it's entirely possible that, given the way that he is relating to the Jewish people, and has related to the Jewish people his entire life, and his father did as well, Fred, that this is basically Esav doing tshuva, repenting, not just repenting. Repenting is a bad word. This is Esav coming back. This is Esav trying to regain or reunite with Yaakov. This is Esav, dare I say, trying to regain his birthright. Possibly, maybe. At least in a spiritual sense, right? my friends, I was watching an interview that Trump did with Ben Shapiro, and there's one moment where he's talking about, he goes, I used to do, when I started on the real estate business, and I did business with a lot of Jewish people, in New York and elsewhere. And then he said, come to think of it, it seemed like it was almost exclusively with Jewish people. And he said it with a fondness. He didn't mean it in a, like some people say, oh man, there's so many Jews in this industry and that industry. No, it was just like almost exclusively, to a point where like all his colleagues were Jewish. My friends, a personal story, and I've told the story before. When my parents and I came to America, we first lived in Brooklyn from 1987, or the end of 1987, beginning of 1988, until 1992. And we lived on a street called Avenue Z in Ocean Parkway on West Street. And on West Street there are these buildings called the Trump buildings, or they were called the Trump buildings, not to be confused with the Trump buildings on Neptune Avenue, for those of you guys who know Brooklyn. So the Trump buildings were managed and owned by Fred Trump. And Fred Trump was a very hands-on guy. He was at the management office, I think, every other week, and if not every week. And my father would drop off the rent check, and he would see Fred every once in a while. Fred adored Russian-speaking Jews. He adored Russian-speaking Jews because, as people came to this country, to America, with $300, $400 in their pockets, and built themselves up from nothing, much like other people. But he especially loved Russian-speaking Jews. And it's funny, actually. My parents have a response letter from Fred. What is the response letter to? So basically, we had there's a garage, a garage that's part of the building, parking garage, and there was all these kind of signs on the garage. There's guard dogs and there's security, blah blah blah. Talking about like late 80s, early 90s, right? So my father had we had our car stolen. It was like a beautiful station wagon, Buick LeSabre, 1985, mint condition, right? So it was stolen. And the thing is, so we don't have a car anymore, but they kept charging us for the fee, the garage fee. So we're just like, what the heck is this? No, it's part of the thing, and you have no choice. But we don't have a car. And you weren't, and by the way, you guys weren't charging us, for the garage before we got the car, right? No, it's prorated, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, prorated for the year, or you have to pay out the whole year. So basically, my father got a lawyer, was a friend of my uncle or something like that. This guy wrote a strongly worded letter to the management, and we got a response from the management, and it's signed by Fred Trump, basically saying, we're not going to charge you anymore. So we won a case, or we settled out of court with Fred Trump, Baruch Hashem. But listen, regardless of that, he was a friend of the Jews, and he taught his son, passed that down to his son, which is why his daughter was always, she was always involved with Israel, even before she converted to Judaism. And so, my friends, I think that's what we're looking at, really. The more we go along here, that's really what we're looking at. Is just a person who's doing, Esav doing tshuva, pretty much. Like I said before, it's we're looking at a spiritual situation. It's interesting. I asked my friend because they taped, Trump as he was speaking at the kever at the grave, and he was reading from his paper and he was reading from Psalms, and I could barely make out what he was reading. And I asked a friend of mine, "What Psalm was he reading?" My friend just writes 121. Like, how do you know? He's like, "I don't know. I'm just taking a guess." I mean, 121, Psalm 121, Shir Malot, is, if you guys ever heard the song, or the version by Yosef Karduner, Shir Malot, so that's that Psalm, 121. And that's actually the Rebbe's Psalm, so to speak, favorite Psalm. So I'm assuming the rabbis that were with him advised him to, read that song. Folks, we're living in amazing times right now. Just amazing times. I mean, listen, a lot of politicians, whether they be Jewish or not Jewish, they did visit the Rebbe. They did. And they were not pandering, because the Rebbe Rebbe was one of these people. He was very famous for telling politicians and prominent people, don't bribe me, don't try to bribe me. Not with money, but with, honor, with kavod, with favor, so to speak. Don't try to bribe me, Or don't say you're going to do something just to, kind of win my favor. So everybody knew that anybody who came to him was coming in a genuine way. Even if it turned out that they didn't listen to him, let's say in the end, for whatever reason, whether they had their own ideas or whether they couldn't, couldn't carry out, didn't have the courage to carry out what he said. A lot of times it was Israeli politicians who could not. There was one politician who listened to the Rebbe, and that was the mayor of Ariel, Ran Nachman. And, he was worried that people were going against him when he was trying to build the town of Ariel. And the Rebbe said to him, just do it, and here's where you're going to build. And da-da. Mind you, folks, the Rebbe never came to Israel once in his life. And he somehow knew topography and geography and all the details of the, local governments and all these different, the machinery of the Israeli, Israeli political machine, local, municipal, it's astounding what the Rebbe knew and understood about Israel, having never set foot there. So my friends, this was anything but pandering, I can tell you that much. After he did this, he held an event for October 7th, which was very nice. I wasn't there, but I heard it was very nice, with Miriam Adelson. I don't know, my friends. It's just to me, when I hear people, Jewish people, even people who call themselves Republican, speak disparagingly. Oh, here's what I wanted to tell you. Speaking of speaking disparagingly about Trump, the story was given over to me. If you guys remember who David Friedman is, he's a lawyer, and he was Donald Trump's ambassador to Israel, America's ambassador to Israel when Trump was a president. So years ago, David Friedman was just, one of Trump's lawyers, so to speak, on retainer. And Friedman's, I don't remember if it was his father or his mother, passed away. This is a story that was given over to me by a dear friend who's, kind of connected in the Jewish world, in some of the upper echelons in the business world in New York. And he told me it was a cold day in New York when this happened. It was a lot of snow. It was a big snowstorm, actually. It was like in the 90s, either late 90s, early 2000s. And the Shiva, after the funeral, the Shiva, the morning, period, where David Friedman was sitting, it was somewhere in the middle of Long Island, in like Islip County, I want to say. And it was a lot of snow on the ground. So what does Trump do? Trump, he's not Jewish. He's not obligated to go to a Shiva call, but he wanted to pay a Shiva call to his friend, David Friedman. So he got on his limo and he told the limo driver, I don't care, just drive, 30 miles an hour and crawl on the LIE, Long Island Expressway. I don't care how long it takes. It took him like 3 hours to get to this thing, 3.5 hours, at night, in the evening. So yeah, just paid a Shiva call, Donald Trump, to his friend David Friedman. Folks, there's a lot of Lashon Hara. We're in the 10 days of Tshuva between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, and what a lot of people focus on is trying to curb the whole Lashon Hara thing, is trying to work on their whole not speaking slander of other people. And my friends, I can tell you, honestly, I've never heard so much Lashon Hara about one person as I heard about Donald Trump in the last 8 years. 8 years or 9 years. And this is especially after he was so venerated and so loved by, in the media and by celebrities and in the public and just by people in general. Even if you thought he was silly, even if you thought he was like a joke, or like a clown, you never hated him, right? Nobody hated him necessarily. I don't even think any of his, I don't even think his ex-wife even hated him, or any women that he dated, like genuinely even hated him, who he I don't know, whatever, triangulated, let's put it that way. And all of a sudden, the minute he went into politics, the media started their thing, and all, celebrities started their thing, and all these people, makes you wonder. He's got dirt on them, obviously, right? He was part of their world, and then when he says, if I was president, so and so would be in jail, they all took it as, wait a minute, if he's saying that about just one person, maybe he's going to put us in jail. Meaning put them in jail. These celebrities and these media people, whoever, or maybe he'll get somebody else to do, or maybe somebody else will, whatever. So everybody got worried all of a sudden, and now it's either us or him, not us. Now it's either them or him. Right? It's a zero-sum game for them. But I digress. Regardless of all that, guys, I was just saying somebody today, we were talking about the whole Jewish vote in America, and the lady basically said, she posted, I don't understand, given that Trump went to the Ohel today, it's so astounding that the majority of the Jews in America really hate him. And I said, listen, and I went back to what Rabbi Kessin has been mentioning all the time. This is a psalm that we read, as part of Hallel, on a lot of the holidays, that says, and there was one line that says, the stone that the builders rejected will become the cornerstone. Evan Masa Abanim, I forget the next word, but it's basically Rosh Pinah. Becomes the Rosh Pinah, the cornerstone, or the headstone, so to speak. Meaning, when you're building a structure, right? When builders are building a structure, they're looking for, and it's interesting because this is something I did when I was in Israel in April. I was participating in building a home in Shiloh, actually, near Shiloh. That a person a reservist started building his own home, and then he had to go to war, and it got completely abandoned, the project, and then restarted again. So you notice the stones are cut very evenly, but then there's stones that you look at and you're like, I can't use this stone. Basically you're rejecting the stone. And then once you're done building the main, wall, or the main part of, all the walls or the structure, you have this like one stone left over. You're like, what can I use this stone for? Probably it will be the cornerstone, the stone to finish off the corner, or a foundation, or what have you, or the capstone maybe. So this is basically a description of Trump. He is the stone that is getting rejected, but it may be he's the key to the whole equation in the end. So my friends, like I said, to see, I go to the Ohel. I don't know, these days I go there. I used to go there like once a week. These days I go there like once every couple of weeks. It's either once every week or once every couple of weeks. And to see a person who's running for president, the actual person running, not even his daughter, who already went there twice, probably more than that, but at least 2 times that we know of, to see him there, surrounded by like your local neighborhood rabbi, so to speak, Chabad rabbi, as it were, is an incredible thing. And I think that anybody who is conscious at all in any way should not overlook this. No matter how you feel about him personally, and no matter how you feel about his words, my friends, it's not only historic, it's something that's breaking, that is puncturing the spiritual continuum, or it's not even a vortex, it's like this invisible wall, or I'll call it an invisible mechitza, right? And it's something that punctures. If you guys ever see the movie Stargate, or the show Stargate, it's something that punctures this kind of Stargate, if that makes any sense. And it transcends worlds. And Zat Hashem, it'll lead to something good, something that's above politics and above even Trump himself, and above anything that we're looking at, whether it's political or military or anything like that, because we need to see only good things. Alright guys, Laila Tov, speak to you Zat Hashem soon.